Now, welcome to Barca News. It is April 10th, 2026. And ladies and gentlemen, today Marc Bernal's agent was seen meeting with Matteo Alemany, the sporting director of Atletico de Madrid. Also, Barcelona counting next season on a surprise goalkeeper. Gonna tell you who it is. And finally, Robert Lewandowski has had a change of heart. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Bo, and this is the Barca News live podcast, where not only we discuss Barcelona news, but where I also get to interact with you lovely people, my Barca News family, in the chat section by reading your comments and reacting to them live. So start filling out the chat section with your questions, your comments, your reactions, or whatever you want to talk about. Put it in the chat section so we can react to it live. Today, I am very happy because today is double bonus day, right? Podcast days are always my favorite days because I get to talk to you guys live. And then Friday is my favorite day because, well, it's the weekend. And you put the two of them together, podcast, Friday, bam, recipe for happiness. So welcome everybody to the Barca News podcast. And of course, for those of you who will be watching when this ends, I will be putting timestamps in the description and chapters in the timeline, in case you do want to skip through the discussion, get straight into the news. Having said all that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. If you're looking for any Barcelona jerseys or merchandise, make sure to Goal Kits or Fanatics. No, sorry, Kit Bag or Fanatics. I'm no longer promoting Goal Kits. They're pretty terrible. And second, if you are looking to place any sports bets, make sure to bet us. All links are down below in the description. You click on them, you get access to some pretty cool deals and offers. All right, let's begin with the news, because today there's a lot of news. In fact, I'm going to be posting another video after the podcast because there's so much news. Starting with the big one, because ladies and gentlemen, today we learned another lesson, another very valuable lesson, a lesson that we had already learned multiple times, but it's always good to review your lessons, you know, because sometimes you learn something, you forget about it. It's always good to go back, relearn the lesson. And what's this lesson, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the lesson is clear, and that is that if there's no penalty, there's no party for Real Penalties, who once again dropped points. Yes, Real Penalties have dropped points yet once again, this time drawing against Girona in their own stadium. After all, their new stadium is shaped like a toilet bowl, and that's because Real Madrid are an absolute shit. So kudos to the engineering firm who came up with the design of the stadium, because, well, if you're shit, what's the best place to play in? Well, a toilet bowl, right? That totally makes sense. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, Real Madrid drawing against Girona and dropping points. Now, Barcelona were ahead of Real Madrid 7 points. Now, with this draw, Real Madrid are only behind Barcelona by 6 points because they got 1 point out of this draw. But of course, tomorrow we play against Espanyol. So if tomorrow Barcelona wins, we can increase our lead to 9 points. And that's going to be a pretty significant lead, given that this is the final stretch of La Liga. And with each passing week, there are less and less and less matches where Real Penalties could make up the points. Not to mention, we do have El Clásico coming up. So we'll see what Barcelona will do tomorrow. But this is a great, great opportunity for Barcelona to extend their lead to 9 points. Now, speaking of tomorrow's match, of course, tomorrow we do play against Espanyol, the Catalan derby. And, well, I do have good news for you. Of course, yesterday we talked about how Frankie de Jong had did part of the training with the group so far. Up until yesterday, Frankie had been training on his own since he's been injured since February. But yesterday, he did part of the training with the group, which, of course, could signal that he will be back. Now, today, he trained with the group once again. And even though Hansi Flick was asked during a pre-match press conference, hey, is Frankie coming back? He said he's going to wait until tomorrow. But what's the good news is that during training, Frankie de Jong was seen participated, I guess you call it an honor guard. It's when the players line up on both sides, and then the person who's supposed to receive this honor runs through the middle, and everybody just slaps him on his head, like jokingly. Frankie de Jong was seen doing that. And usually, players get to do that when it's their birthday, when they come back from injury. So even though Flick said Frankie hasn't received the medical clearance yet, he could receive it tomorrow, given that he was seen doing the honor guard. It's most likely that Frankie de Jong will be receiving the medical clearance tomorrow, and he will be part of the squad against Espanyol. But of course, even if that happens, I don't see Frankie de Jong starting tomorrow. If anything, he'll probably come off the bench. But of course, we still have to wait for that medical clearance, which again, it looks like it will be coming tomorrow. And that, of course, is good news because midweek, we have the second leg of the quarterfinals of the Champions League against Atletico Madrid. And right now, we don't have anyone to go play next to Pedri, right? Both Bernal and Frankie are injured. In fact, Bernal today training in the gym separately. So he's not close to coming back. Now, Pedri will be available for tomorrow's match. Of course, Pedri did have that scare against Atletico Madrid where he suffered some hamstring discomfort. Flick saw it, was like, I'm not running any risks. You out of here, buddy. We got to protect you. And while he underwent medical exams, Pedri's totally fine. He will be available tomorrow. Now, the final bit of this first segment is, of course, Hansi Flick's statements, because he was asked about Barcelona filing a complaint with UEFA, right? I told you about this in yesterday's video. Barcelona have filed a complaint with UEFA about the refereeing against Atletico Madrid, and this is what Flick had to say in regards to Barca's complaint. I don't know if it will achieve anything or what the response will be. For me and the team, it's perfect. The club supports us. It was unfair, and everyone thinks so. You can make one mistake, but not two. I view it very positively. VAR is there so that if you see something that isn't right, they can alert the referee and correct it. That's what I felt was missing in the other match. But for us, it's not good. And mistakes like that ended up deciding the match. It's not appreciated. So, Hansi Flick saying that, he supports the club's decision to file the complaint against UEFA because the referee did make mistakes, some gruesome mistakes that could have definitely changed the outcome of the match. Had the VAR noticed that the goalkeeper passed the ball to Marc Bernal, and Marc Bernal started with his hand, that would have been double yellow for a second yellow for Marc Bernal, which would mean he would have been expelled. So it would have been 10v10. And of course, it would have been a penalty. And you're telling me, with 10v10, with one goal, presumably, because Barcelona should have been able to score that goal, it wouldn't change things? Tell me Barcelona wouldn't have been able to score maybe a second goal and tie it, maybe a third goal and win it. And even if they hadn't scored any goal, just a penalty, losing 2-1 is a lot different than losing 2-0. But anyways, that was Flick's decision. Now, again, I want to clarify something. I said this during the post-match live analysis. I said that refereeing was horrible, but nonetheless, that wasn't why Barca lost. Barca lost because they shot 18 times and didn't score a single goal. Barca lost because we have bums like Rashford up front. That's why we lost. But of course, that didn't matter. People were like, "Wow, stop blaming the ref." And it's like, oh my God, here we go again. Please listen before you reply. It's very frustrating when I say something and people are like, "Yeah, you didn't say that." And I'm like, I literally just did. Anyways, Hansi Flick was then asked about Arbeloa's comments. If you don't know who Arbeloa is, he is Florentino Perez's lapdog. The guy who is supposedly training, he's coaching Real Madrid. Not really. He's just there to be the lapdog of Florentino Perez, says whatever Florentino Perez wants him to say, or more like he says whatever he thinks Florentino Perez wants to hear. And as far as the players, he just lets them do whatever because he thinks if he, he's a glorified babysitter, that if he does whatever they want, that, they're not gonna, they're gonna respond better and they're not gonna do what they did to Xabi Alonso and to Ancelotti, which is not listen and get him sacked. But Arbeloa, during a press conference ahead of today's match, was asked about, hey, Barcelona filed a UEFA complaint. What do you think about that? And he was like, well, Barcelona shouldn't be complaining because that negated a case. So Flick was asked, hey, what do you think about what this nobody Arbeloa had to say? And this is what Flick responded. There's nothing to say. I'm not going to waste my energy on that. That's fine by me. It's his opinion, so let him get on with it. I'm focusing on my team and on what I can control and nothing else. I'm not interested in that sort of thing. It's just what people do, making a fuss around us, but we have to focus on ourselves. We're in a good position now, and we have to win our matches. We mustn't think about the others. Great response by Flake saying, whatever, bro. You say whatever you have to say. I've got to focus on my players and winning my matches. And guess what? Had this nobody Arbeloa followed this advice and focused on his own team rather than on others, maybe they could have won today. But instead, he's too busy being Florentino Perez's lapdog. And look at that. Another embarrassing performance by the, glorified babysitter that nobody, Arbeloa. By the way, looks like an AIDS patient. Have you guys ever noticed that? That might be a little bit too mean, but who cares? Fuck him. Anyways, let's go back to the comment section, or let's start with the comment section, I should say. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Marc Bernal because his agent was seen meeting with Matteo Alemany, who's the sporting director of Atletico Madrid. And let's start with the donation. Let's fucking go. Because Ray Ramos, with the incredibly generous donation, says, Happy Friday, Mo and Barca family. Haha, at Real penalty for dropping points. I'm optimistic about Barca beating Atletico Madrid in a second leg. Well, thank you, my friend, for your generous donation. And yes, like I said at the beginning of this, no penalty, no party, ladies and gentlemen. We continue to learn that lesson, which is funny, by the way, how the AIDS patient Arbeloa decided, to say, Barca shouldn't complain about the referees because I need a case. And it's like, bro, the only reason why you're still in the race for La Liga is thanks to the referees. How many penalties have we seen this season that were gifted to Madrid that were not actual penalties? Penalties that meant Madrid got 3 points when they should have gotten 1. Or gotten 1 point when they should have gotten 0. Or gotten 3 points when they should have gotten 0. How many times we've seen that? If it wasn't for the horrendous refereeing in La Liga, this league could be wrapped up. Barcelona could be 15 points ahead of Madrid, and we wouldn't even have to be talking about rotating this or rotating that. Right now, we could be playing all of our subs and just resting the starting team for the Champions League. But instead, we're having to, pick and choose who plays and who doesn't because we have to be alive because we're alive in both competitions, and it's all thanks to the referees. So, yeah, when you're shit and the only way you win is thanks to the refs, well, eventually catches up with you, right? You can't always get lucky. And as far as the second leg of Atletico Madrid, yes, I think we can. It's going to be an incredibly difficult task. Playing against Atletico Madrid in their own stadium is a very difficult task. You know how El Cholo Simeone is. He's a destroyer of football. He's going to park the bus. He's going to look for the counterattacks. And, as the clock ticks, Barcelona, our lines are going to get higher and higher, which is going to leave more space open in the back. So it's going to be very difficult. But it is possible, right? We've already beat Atletico Madrid twice this season with 3 goals, right? We beat them 3-0 in the second leg of the Copa del Rey semifinal. We beat them 3-1 in La Liga match. So it is possible. It is possible to score 3 goals against them. After all, that's all we need, right, to get through. Anyways, or at least 2 to get into extra times. Anyways, thank you for your donation, my friend. And let's see, Philip, who says, Mo, I'm first to be here. Well, thank you, my friend, for being here. Thanks to all of you for being here. And Billy Mack says, what's up, Mo? What's up, Billy? By 702, brother. And Barca Mama says, happy Friday, Barca News family. Yes, happy Friday to you, Barca Mama, and to all my Barca News family here on the podcast in the chat section. And, of course, those of you who'll be watching when it ends. Vincent, who says, Mo, imagine I'm still crying for ungiven penalty against Atletico Madrid. Don't cry, my friend. What's done, it's done. Now we have to focus on what's next. What's next is Espanyol's match tomorrow. We got to win to increase our lead to 9 points ahead of Real penalties. And then, of course, next week, Tuesday, we have to win in order to qualify to the semifinals of the Champions League in normal time. Oh, almost said time, but it's not time. It's time. Timo. Timo? Timo. Says, you still believe in the remontada against Atleti without Rafinha? I really don't see him. I do. Because, like I said, we've beat them before. We've scored 3 goals against them twice this season, so it is possible. I mean, does it suck not to have Rafinha? Of course. Would have been much better to have Rafinha a million times. But, I think we still have enough, to be able to score. Hopefully Rashford decides to have a good match because, he's a hit and miss. Sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. Hopefully that match he can score. And yeah, man, I believe it. Obviously, we would have had much higher chances had Coutinho played, but you gotta play the hand you're dealt. Klaus says, meaning him for what? That's a good question, my friend. And with that, let's segue into the next bit of news because, ladies and gentlemen, the agent of Marc Bernal was spotted today meeting with Matteo Alemany, who, in case you don't know who Matteo Alemany is because you don't follow the channel, which in that case, what do you do with your life? Start following the channel. Just kidding. Do whatever you want. It's your life. But Matteo Alemany, of course, former sporting director of Barcelona, but now he is the current sporting director of Atletico Madrid. And again, he was spotted today meeting with the agent of Marc Bernal, whose name is Raúl Verdú. Now, this, of course, set alarms everywhere, all around Spain and all around the world, because as we know, Atletico Madrid tried to sign Marc Bernal during the winter transfer market. Excuse me, I'm right out of breath today. I think my asthma's kicking in. Anyways, today, the winter break, Atletico Madrid tried to poach Marc Bernal. They tried to approach him. Of course, Flick even had to intervene, talk to Marc Bernal, told him, hey, I know you're not getting minutes, because at that point, Marc Bernal was not getting any minutes. He was getting very little minutes here and there, and, explained to him, hey, look, like, you're injured. We have this, well, not injured. He was already healthy, but hey, like, you just came back from a serious injury. We have this plan for you. I know you haven't been getting minutes. Second half of the season, you will be getting more and more minutes. This is all part of the plan to make sure, you come back and you come back for good and not come back and get re-injured, right? And of course, Marc Bernal decided to stay. And seeing that his agent was meeting again with Atletico Madrid, all alarms went off, thinking that, hey, is Atletico Madrid trying to poach him again? Is he thinking about it? Of course, Barcelona consider Marc Bernal non-transferable. He is not on the list. Not even like, oh, if we get a good offer, no, nothing. Even if they come and say 200 million, sorry, he's not for sale, right? He has a 500 million euro release clause. That's the only way you're going to get him, is paying that 500 million euro release clause. Marc Bernal himself also has said multiple times that he's happy at Barca and he wants to stay at Barca. So, of course, the question mark started to appear. Like, why is his agent meeting up? Well, later during the day, it was clarified why. It has nothing to do with Marc Bernal. Atletico Madrid are very interested in him, of course. Who wouldn't be? Marc Bernal is an incredibly promising player, but they know that he's not for sale. They know he wants to stay. And the reason why Matteo Alemany was meeting with Raúl Verdú, the agent of Marc Bernal, was in order to establish a relationship with the agency of Raúl Verdú, which is called Nation Sport, because, of course, it is a pretty big, important agency that represents players like Vinicius Jr., Jan Diamond, and Gabriel Martinelli. So it had nothing to do with Bernal. It was simply just, hey, I want to meet you. Let's do business together. What players do you have? Maybe I could be interested in one of them. Kind of like that. So don't fear. Bernal is not considering going to Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid are not considering signing him because they know he's not transferable, because Barcelona consider him the future of the midfield of Barcelona, right next to Pedri. Anyways, so I had to clarify that because I saw a lot of talks on social media. And I was like, all right, people freaking out. Gotta tell them, don't freak out. Don't worry. Be happy. All right, anyways. Let's get back to the comments section, and then we are going to talk about a surprise goalkeeper that Barcelona are counting on for next season. This one really surprised me. I was like, pourquoi? Let's see. Melio Das Clover says, hey, what's up, Mo? I don't know if it's a good idea, but I would prefer starting Cancelo on left wing and Balde at left. The combination has much more advantages than starting Rashford, better pressing and crossing. I feel like how Cancelo and Balde play so deep that they could end up getting into each other's way. Right? Even though Cancelo is pretty good at cutting into the middle. But, I don't know. I feel like they would get into each other's way. Plus, I know a lot of people always say, why doesn't Cancelo play as a winger? There has to be a reason, right? I don't think we're the only geniuses who thought about this, and Flick is like, huh? So if Flick hasn't tried out Cancelo on the left wing, there has to be a reason. So I don't know. But again, playing with Balde, I feel like they would get in each other's ways. Sean says, hey, good night, Mo. I know the statement many people may disagree with, but from my POV, if there's one thing Flick needs to work on is how he rotates his players. I don't think he has done a good job. I disagree with that. I think he has rotated, but he's also limited in, he doesn't have that deep of a bench. So it's easier said than done, right? Let's see. Sandiel says, so Mo, what do you think about Marc Casado leaving this summer? Not confirmed, but I'm going to talk about it in the next video. So stay tuned. Let me see what else. Kyle Hell says, on topic of tomorrow's game, not sure if Flick has quietly punished Rooney for his game time comments. He hasn't played a single minute ever since. Hope to see him play tomorrow and rest Lamine. I don't think so. He said that over the FIFA break. And since then, we've played what? 2 matches? Atletico Madrid and Atletico Madrid, right? Have we played another match? Atletico Madrid in La Liga. And then Atletico Madrid in the Champions League. And that's it, right? 2 matches. I wouldn't say he's punished him because he hasn't played in 2 matches. I mean, he's played even much less before that. So, no, I wouldn't say that. Magazine says it's a great opportunity to extend our lead in La Liga, but can we rest Lamine, Pedri, Fermin, and Eric Martin just to avoid any discomfort, especially Eric and Pedri? I mean, yeah, you rest all those, but who you're left with? You rest Pedri, and you already don't have Bernal or Frankie, and you rest Fermin, there goes your whole midfield. And, if you rest Eric and Martin, you put in Cubarsí, I guess you could put in Araujo next to him. But yeah, that goes your whole midfield, though. And you rest Lamine. And what, you want to count on Rashford only? I mean, rotations obviously need to happen, but you cannot rotate that heavily. Definitely not more than 1 player per line, because that's going to affect, and Flick learned that lesson. Remember Girona? We rotated heavily last season, and we rotated like 5-6 players, and they ended up scoring 4 goals against us because that happens, right? When you rotate too much, it's a very incredibly difficult thing to rotate. People think it's just like, oh, just rotate players. I'll see, fuck it. No, it's a very difficult thing to do. Otherwise, people would be rotating left and right like it's nothing. But the thing is, when you put too many players who don't play together too often, it affects the team's performance by a lot. Even if you have an incredibly deep bench where you have amazing starting 11 and another amazing substitute 11, just by rotating too much, these players are not used to playing together. That's still going to affect your performance, even if your 11 substitutes are world-class players. Because playing together matters a lot. That's how you develop chemistry between players. That's how players learn how to understand each other without having to communicate vocally, right? It's like, this is how players can look at their teammate and be like, oh, I know exactly what he's trying to do, so I'm gonna make the run. Or I know exactly where he wants to pass to, so I'm gonna go there. That doesn't happen in practice. That happens during matches. And when you put players who are substitutes, too many of them who don't have that match time that regularly, they can't understand each other, and it affects the performance of the team by a lot. Uh, Johnny Oson says they actually tried to get a penalty at the end of the game today. Yeah, I mean, it's real penalties, bro. That's how they got their name. That's their thing. That's what they do. And Surya says, as much as I want Barca to make the comeback, Atletico Madrid is best defending and annoying opponents. If they score one, we have to score four, which is super bad for us. Again, it's going to be an incredibly difficult task, but I still think it's possible. Anyways, let's get back to the news because we do have to talk about a surprising report that I read today, that I came across today, and then, of course, double and triple checked. But Barcelona are counting on a surprise goalkeeper for next season, who is no other than Wojciech Szczęsny. Now, as you know, Wojciech Szczęsny does have a contract until 2027, which means he does have another season left on his contract. But so far, it seemed like Barcelona were going to pay the termination clause in his contract, which is worth $2 million, and bid him goodbye. But surprising report came out today stating that, well, Barcelona are actually counting on Szczęsny. They want to keep him for next season because the goalkeeping coach, Jose de la Fuente, is very impressed and happy with the professionalism and a daily commitment of Wojciech Szczęsny. In other words, he's very happy with how he shows up to practice, how he trains. In fact, Jose de la Fuente believes that Szczęsny has even improved since his arrival in Barcelona. But not only is Szczęsny impressing Jose de la Fuente as a player on the field, but he has also become a very well-respected member of the locker room, someone who has emerged kind of like a leader to the younger players, someone who helps them, supports them. And the combination of these two, Szczęsny being professional and improving his performance during practices, plus the fact that he really helps the younger players in the locker room, the combination of these two has prompted Barcelona to want to keep Szczęsny for another season. In other words, have him finish his contract, right? Because they're not extending it. It technically is until 2027. But for the longest time, it was thought out that Barcelona was just going to terminate it, which there is a termination clause in his contract where if you pay him $2 million, auf Wiedersehen, right? Now, reports in Poland are saying that Szczesny's future is kind of tied to that of Lewy's, where if Lewy stays another season, in other words, if Barcelona extended his contract for another season, and Szczesny would stay as well. But if Lewy, lets his contract expire this summer and ends up leaving, that Szczesny could also leave with him. Of course, we are going to have to wait and see, but just know that Barcelona would like to count on Szczesny for another season, which, don't get me wrong, I got nothing against Szczesny. I think he's hilarious. I don't know if you guys seen his videos, the way he jokes around with other players and makes fun of them. He's a vibe. This guy's a vibe. I would love to hang out with him one day and have beers or something because he's freaking hilarious. So I got nothing against him, but that to me seems a little bit strange to want to keep Szczesny, not for nothing, but we still have Ter Stegen who's coming back, and his contract expires in 2028. We have Jakobishvili, who's going to be coming back from loan from Andorra. We have Andrés Tralaga, who's coming back from loan from Granada. We have Diego Cochen on the bench. We have Iñaki Peña coming back from loan from, where is he, Elche? And it's and you want to keep Szczesny? I mean, we're talking about Juan, Szczesny, Cochen, Ter Stegen, Astralaga, Jakobishvili, and Iñaki, right? 7 goalkeepers. What the hell are we gonna do with 7 goalkeepers in the summer? Also, Szczesny's tapped out, man. I mean, we've covered his statements here multiple times, and the guy is out of it. I mean, that guy's not looking to compete or anything like that. That guy's, in his mind, he's retired. He's on the beach sipping margaritas. And I mean, rightfully so. The guy has had a very long career, successful career. He's been an incredible goalkeeper, top 10 goalkeepers in Europe. I mean, just let him go. I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, I feel anyone who's tapped out like that, just what's the point of keeping him? Because, um, you want people who want to compete, who are hungry, who want to show they're the best, not someone who's just like, I'd rather not play. I hope Juan Garcia's not injured. And again, this is nothing against Juan Szczesny. It's just, we all reach that point where that's it. But anyways, what do you guys think? You think Barcelona should keep Szczesny for another season? Do you not? Let me know down below in the comment section, or in the chat section, I should say, or in the comment section if you're watching this once it ends. All right, let's get back to the comments. And then after that, we're going to talk about Lewy, because guess what? We just mentioned him. We said, hey, Szczesny's future could be tied to that of Lewy, where if Lewy stays, Szczesny stays. If Lewy leaves, he could leave too. So, of course, we got to talk about what's going to happen with Lewy, because he has had a change of heart. And I'm going to tell you what it is. Let's see. Where did we leave off? Right here. Blaurana X says, hey Mo, if search for a De Jogo 10, you will see the Arbeloa slip hand under his player's waist. What? Are you saying Arbeloa gives hand jobs to his players? What? John Williams says, I would love Barca to sign Bastoni and Rafael Leao, then sign a striker next year. I feel like a striker is a bigger priority than bringing a winger. And Americ WC says that remontada will also depend on who play in defense for them too. They have a headache in center back position. Look, we can only count on ourselves and not what an Atletico Madrid does or don't do, and who starts and who doesn't. The goal should always be coming up with a plan that can overcome Atletico's defense and be able to create chances and danger and turns those chances into goals. And Isaac says, I will be so glad if Hansi posts something Atletico Madrid won't expect, like play Lamine centrally and Rooney at left wing, use Fermin as a winger, and Rashford's... Ooh, bro, no. Yeah, Lamine could play in central role. He could. But why would you play Rooney as a left winger when he's a right winger? That's his natural position. Can he play there? Yes. But you usually want players to play in the position where they're strongest at. Also, why would you play Ferran at all? Whether it be winger or a ball boy. And I don't know. I feel like Rashford is better as a winger than he is as a striker. But I don't know. Edward says, Espanyol are going to kick us up in the air tomorrow, and we still have game against Celta Vigo, our boogie team. Iago Aspas can make himself invisible, drift into spaces, and then score. He can. Iago Aspas always turns into prime Messi against us, but luckily he has been getting less and less minutes. I think last time he only played against us, the last 15 or 20 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Not to be thankful that he's getting old, because I feel like that's a terrible thing to say, but I'm glad he's getting less minutes. Let's put it that way. Let's see I want to look at this. Let's look at our schedule. Let's review it together. Since you brought it up, I want to take a look at our schedule. All right, let's see. Hold on. What am I missing here? There we go. I'm going to hide your comment just so we can see the schedule a little better. Okay. So, of course, we have Espanyol. They're always a tough opponent, but thankfully we are playing at the Camp Nou. I feel like we usually fare better against Espanyol at the Camp Nou than we do at their shitty stadium. What is it called? Anoeta? No, that's Real Sociedad. What is Espanyol's stadium called? Why am I forgetting their name? Hold on. Now I gotta Google it because it's bothering me. Espanyol Stadium. RCD. Yeah, Cornellà. It's RCDE Stadium, which is in Cornellà, so they just call it Cornellà because that's where it is. Anyways, of course, Champions League match, but let's focus on La Liga. La Liga. That's French for La Liga. Just kidding, it's not. Celta Vigo. Yeah, tough match. Because like you said, Iago Aspas does become prime Messi. But usually, Celta Vigo give us a lot of problems in their own stadium. Usually at home, we've been able to defeat them a lot easier than their own stadium. Then this is the one worries me actually more, believe it or not, Getafe. Because even though they're a trash team, we know how Getafe plays, right? Fouls, waste time, you know, destroy. And it's at their stadium. So I'm actually worried more about the Getafe match than I am about the Celta Vigo. And then, of course, there's Osasuna. You know, they're a good team in their own stadium. This could be tough, but I think we should be able to overcome. And then, of course, El Clásico. Now, if it stays the same, well, if we win tomorrow and it's 9 points, and we get to El Clásico with 9-point difference, you know, assuming Barca doesn't drop points, Real Madrid don't drop points, a win here or a draw, would mean that Barcelona would be champions. And I would love for that to happen. Because can you imagine becoming champions in our own stadium at the Camp Nou against our arch rivals? That would be one hell of a day. So hopefully it stays this way, you know, 9 points. Well, first we got to get to 9 points, right? We're at 6-point difference right now. We have to win tomorrow to get to 9 points. But yeah, if it stays at 9 points, a victory or a draw would make us champions. Because let's say we draw, it becomes 10-point difference. And with only 3 matches left, which means only 9 points left, it's impossible, right? Mathematically speaking, it's over. Because it's 10 points. And if Barcelona lose every single match and Madrid win every single remaining match, they would cut the difference from 10 to 1. But Barcelona would still be on top. And if you win, obviously, 12 points ahead with only 9 points left up for grabs, well, mathematically speaking, Barcelona champions. So hopefully that happens. I think it'll be an absolutely amazing way to wrap up the league. To win La Liga in our own stadium against Real Madrid would be beautiful. Beautiful. All right, let's continue with the comments. Hey, Merrick says, Araujo number 9. Honestly, at this point, I trust him more than Ferran to be our number 9. But, you know, Araujo, I guess when he was coming up through the academy back in Uruguay, he did play the number 9 position. That's why he can score goals, I guess you could put it that. But I mean, that's not really his natural position. He's been playing as a center back the longest time ever. But it would be hilarious. I would trust Araujo over Ferran as our center forward. By the way, Ter Stegen, when he was coming up, he was a number 9. He was a center forward. And then somewhere along his career, someone said, I want to try you out. One of his coaches said, I want to try you out as a goalkeeper. Let's see what happens. And that's why Ter Stegen is really good with the ball at his feet. Something that a lot of goalkeepers lack, right? Tito USA says, hey, Mo, is the Bastoni signing in jeopardy at all? I'm going to talk about the Bastoni signing in next video. Let's see what else. Carlos says, do you see Flick playing the false 9? Since we are in need of goals and put a lot of pressure on Atletico Madrid, I think the whole team needs to go to the Araujo retreat at the end of the season. Yeah. I can see that. I can see Flick maybe trying. The problem is when we tried the false 9 with Dani Olmo, it didn't really work. For some reason, Olmo just withdrew into the midfield, even though he was supposed to be the false nine, and he played a lot deeper than you would expect a false nine. I don't know if that was intentional, but that's what happened during Atletico Madrid in La Liga. And Thomas says, hi Mo, I'm Thomas from Liberia, West Africa. I'm really sick and tired with Marcus Rashford inconsistency and low vision ability. He doesn't deserve to wear the colors. No, he does not, my friends. No, he does not. Now, let's pivot back to the news. Speaking of Rashford and attackers, but let's do the last bit of news and then we'll do more comments, I promise. But let's talk about Robert Lewandowski, since we did mention him when we were talking about Wojciech Szczęsny and how their futures could be linked. Now, let's review, let's recap, because Lewandowski, the bombshell report today, stating that Lewy has had a change of heart. But before we can talk about what that change of heart is, we have to, of course, recap what's going on with Lewy, because Lewy's contract, as we know, expires this summer, right? 2026. That's it. His contract is finito. Now, for the longest time, Lewy has been, telling Barcelona through his agent that he wants to stay at Barcelona, that he would like to renew. He's very happy in Barcelona. His wife is very happy in Barcelona. She's actually started some businesses there. I think she has like a gym and things like that. She's a nutritionist and a trainer, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, Lewy has been, telling Barcelona that he wants to renew, he wants to stay at the club. And up until recently, Barcelona were kind of on the fence. They weren't sure, at first they kind of wanted to let Lewy go because they understood, he's reached a certain age, and then they were kind of on the fence on it. And finally, about a few weeks ago, Barcelona decided that they do want to extend the contract of Lewy. They want to give him another season at the club with a decreased salary, right? With a much, much lower salary, because right now he has one of the highest salaries on the squad. Now, Lewy, of course, being that it's his last season, he's been getting a lot of interest. We know Chicago Fire and the MLS are interested in him. We know AC Milan are interested in him. They even met with his agent, Pini Zahavi, several times. Chicago Fire have met with him also. Juventus have been watching him. They've even sent scouts to his match with Poland. And, of course, we have Saudi Arabia, who've been after him for quite some time, but he doesn't seem to be too interested in going to Saudi Arabia, even though they're willing to throw money at him. So that's what's been going on. Contract ending. Barcelona want to renew him. So far, Lewy has been prioritizing staying at Barca despite all the multiple offers. And here is the new news, or the bombshell news, is that Lewy has had a change of heart in that he no longer prioritizes Barcelona. Doesn't mean he doesn't want to stay. Doesn't mean he does not consider it at all. It's just no longer a priority. Before, it was like, I want Barca only. I don't care about any of these other offers. If Barca give me an offer, I'm staying. Now it's no longer that. Now it's, I want to see all the offers I have on the table, including Barca's, and AC Milan, and Juventus, and Chicago Fire, and see which one fits me best, and then decide on where to go. Why has Lewandowski had a change of heart? Well, his entourage have been leaking to the media that Lewy is not happy, that he feels underappreciated, undervalued, especially after he got subbed out during halftime in the Champions League against Atletico Madrid. And he feels like he's going through the same situation as Bayern Munich, where Bayern Munich, they started using him less and less. They didn't appreciate him. He ended up leaving. And then, of course, Bayern ended up regretting it, because Lewy showed us over the last 2.5 seasons, because this one's not over, and, he still had some goals in him. So Lewy not happy. He feels that the club are not valuing him, that yes, he accepts his secondary role, but he feels like he could be getting more minutes, that he deserved more minutes than what he's actually gotten. And because feels not undervalued or underappreciated by the club, he's no longer prioritizing Barca. Again, this doesn't mean that no Barca, he's closing the door on Barca. No, it just means he's going to consider Barca, but he's also going to consider all these other clubs and then choose which one he wants to go to. Where before, his mind was like, I want Barca and Barca only. So that's the news. And of course, given Lewy's unhappiness, it's reported that AC Milan have already began informal talks with Lewy to feel him out. Hey, you're going to come. What would you be looking for? Contract, minutes, salary, etc., etc., etc. So we'll see what comes out of this. We'll see whether Lewy stays or leaves. But just know he's unhappy. To Lewy, I would say, I don't know if you should feel underappreciated. I think Lewy has to understand that this happens to every player. There's a point where, well, age catches up with all of us, and you can no longer perform at the same level as you did before. And as such, your minutes start to, well, decrease and eventually disappear. And just like every legend in football, there comes a point where you have to accept that. Whether it was Xavi when he went to Qatar, whether it was Iniesta when he decided to go to Japan, Messi when he decided to go to Inter Miami after PSG. You know, all legends have to reach a point where they accept that, hey, I'm no longer the same player as I used to be. And it sucks for the player, for the fans, for the team. But unfortunately, that's the reality. But anyways, we'll see what Lewy decides. But just know that he's unhappy and therefore he no longer prioritizes Barcelona. All right, let's see what else is everyone saying in the comment section. Comment section. Comment section. All right, let's see. Thomas says Barca has to or most improve in their intensity level from 60% to at least 95 if they want to win more titles this season, because so players don't deserve to wear colors. I feel like the team has improved intensity. They did go through a patch during the first half of the season where, yes, there was a lot of matches where they were just simply asleep at the wheel. That's when we went through a streak of matches where we were dropping points. But I feel like that's improved. That has improved. What we need is, more quality at this point up front, right? Ferran, Rashford, even Olmo, they're just not cutting it. They're just not cutting it. Johnny Son says, when Flick brought on Torres midweek, I asked myself, why would he want us to play with 9 men? Oh, man. Poor Ferran. He catches a lot of heat. But, I mean, it's, deservedly so. It's not like we're just picking on him for the sake of picking on him. Kelvin says, hey, Mo, watching you live from Zambia. Time check, 2:23 a.m. just from watching the splashdown of the Artemis astronauts. It was really awesome. Biscal Barca. Oh, that's cool. I did not see that. Let me see. Let's see. Artemis astronauts. It just happened. They just successfully returned to Earth after a historic 10-day mission. Wait, they're the first humans to fly around the moon since 1972. That's crazy. That is crazy. What a shame, by the way, that we stopped sending men into the moon, because we learned so much from those trips. Most of the technology we have today was thanks to those trips. It's not just like, ooh, we went and jumped around the moon. Well, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. Thank you for joining the live stream, even though it's pretty late. And Java the Hut says, I just saw your old videos on TikTok, and you've definitely come a long way in terms of how you give news. Well, thank you, my friend. I haven't seen my TikTok videos because I imagine they're super duper uber boober cringe. But I have seen my old YouTube videos. And for those of you who want to laugh at me, you can go to the video tab in YouTube page, you can filter from oldest to newest, and you can see like the first videos that I made. They're very, very cringe. Very, very cringe. I imagine my videos are still cringe, but they were even cringier. It was bad. It was bad. I watch them every now and then. I'm like, oh my God, who's that guy? It's bad. It's bad. Can't imagine what the TikToks are like. Not the Gamer says, what's good, Mo? It's good. It's good to see you again. It's really sad to see Barca starting to fumble the season. Every team we are playing is bums, but the worst Madrid team in history, an easy path to Champions League final. I wouldn't say easy path because there is no such thing as easy paths in the Champions League. There are easier. Obviously, it would be a lot more challenging to face off against teams like PSG, Liverpool, or Bayern Munich. But I don't think it's easy path. I mean, Atletico Madrid, as you can see, there's still a team that can compete, and we still have Arsenal on the same side of the bracket. So I wouldn't say easy, but maybe a little bit easier. Let's see. Miljan says, Mo, I reaction on this new about Lewy, and I really didn't thought he would feel like this. I feel like he has a good role now. I feel like it happens to all players. I think it's just when you are, it happens to us humans, right? When, like, for example, men, right? When we reach a certain age, and, for the longest time, you were this, like, young, strong man, macho man. And, you feel like, like an alpha and all this thing. And then you reach a certain age and you realize, maybe not, because my body is decaying. And, a lot of men have a hard time accepting that you're no longer that young, strong man, right? That now you're old and fragile. And that's why, like, men go through midlife crisis and they go buy the convertible Porsche and they get that earring and the crazy haircut. I start dating younger women, right? So even like as humans, we go through that. So athletes, it's the same way, but I feel like it's even worse because it's worse for them because, they go from like someone like Lewy, an absolute legend, one of the best nines of our generation. And they go from being scoring goals, being in stadiums filled with tens of thousands of people chanting your name, and you're winning trophies, and you walk down the street and people are like, ah, and interviews and camera flashes and awards, and you're it, man. You're like the epitome of manhood and athleticism, right? And to go to accept to going from that to like you're just a sub now who gets a few minutes here, a few minutes there, and gets subbed out and a half, like it's tough. It's tough. And it happens to all players. But, eventually, you have to accept it, right? City Top says, I'm so heartbroken. No Marc Bernal for Tuesday. No matter. Well, they're saying he will try to make it by Tuesday. He's definitely not making it, obviously, tomorrow. But hopefully now he doesn't try to push it because it's better, better he miss one match and make the rest of the season than come back one match early and then mess the rest of the season, right? And Gabriel says, hi, Mo, could we inject Rafinha to play on Tuesday? No, because you end up, injected of playing while you're hurt, it only worsens the injury, right? You're going to go from being possibly injured 5 weeks to now it might be 3 months, right? So, no, it's not worth injecting a player to gain one match only for him to miss an extra 10 or something. Plus, he would be missing the World Cup, right? And I don't think he would want to miss the World Cup and the entire season just so he can get to play one match. I mean, maybe if it was a final, Champions League final, and there's nothing else after, yeah, maybe, but no. Not the Gamer says, when I saw Ferran stand up, I wonder if they wanted him to sub in 30 minutes ago, or did he miss his time? Probably. He was probably supposed to start, and he missed it, so he ended up being a sub. Nathan, what a donation! Fucking go! Thank you, my friend, so much for your donation. But Nathan says, hi, Mo, any updates on Lewy's replacement? No updates. Barcelona's still studying the market. We've talked about now several options. We'll see what the summer brings us, but of course, there's still time. There's still time. Still have the rest of April, May, June, and then July. The market opens, and even at the beginning of July, I don't see much movement because, of course, it's going to be the World Cup, and even after the World Cup, the players are going to go on vacation, and then after that, we'll see the market. So expect the market to start moving a lot towards the end of July, beginning of August. Let me see. What else? What else? I'm gordo. I'm gordo. No, you're not, my friend. You're fit. You're jolly. Let's put it that way. It says Dictator Mbappe, Birmingham, Vinicius equals no wins. Yeah, I guess Madrid haven't won anything, any matches since the return of Mbappe. See, I might have to clip those videos. Because I remember 2 summers ago, people used to be like, Mo, what are we going to do? Madrid about to sign Mbappe. And I was like, guys, chill. Chill. It's nothing to worry about. If anything, that guy's going to destroy their locker room. I was right. Let me see. Miliot says, hey, Mo, what do you think about playing Lamine as a false 9? No, because what makes Lamine, what makes him so dangerous is his creativity, right? Him being able to create and distribute the ball and get past defenders with his dribbling. I feel like as a false 9, you take away some of that. And I know Messi played in that position, and he's a creative player too. But Messi, when he was playing as a false 9, he had better goal-scoring ability than Lamine does now. I'm not saying that Lamine is not going to develop that. Of course he will, and eventually he will be scoring a lot of goals. But right now, Lamine has not perfected his goal-scoring ability yet. He's only 18. He will. So maybe in the future. But right now, I feel like what he's shining at most is his dribbling, his creativity, his assisting. So let him continue to shine in that until he develops and improves his goal-scoring abilities. Then maybe we can talk about false 9. Let me get. Not the gamer says, can we get a We are not paying 60 mil for Luis Diaz? Yes, you can. By the way, aren't you glad we didn't? Because I don't know, man. I don't know. Wow. The way I saw him play against Madrid in the Champions League, I was like, really? And I think they ended up paying 75, didn't they? Bayern Munich. But anyways, here we go. We are not, I repeat, we are not paying 60 million for Luis Diaz. And people would still be like, oh, Mo, I can't believe we're paying 60 million for Luis Diaz. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. We are not paying 60 million for Luis Diaz. And Emerick says, heard the news about Bastoni blue balling us like Nico did. I'm going to talk about that in the next video. He has not, but there are other stuff going on. So stay tuned to the channel. And with that, we will end the podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for your comments, for your donations. If you haven't hit the like button yet, make sure you do. If you haven't subscribed yet, what the hell are you waiting for, bro? Make sure you do. And of course, if you're watching this once it ends, drop a comment down below letting me know your thoughts about all the news that I share with you. Thank you guys for everything. I'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, be scarce.